So the All-Star weekend, and I know I'm late, but I want to get in on this. The All-Star weekend was a catastrophe, okay? It was absolutely terrible. The dunk contest, Mac McClung had some pretty cool dunks. Stephon Castle had some pretty cool dunks. I'm personally of the belief, I think the dunk contest and really the Saturday night festivities is skews towards a younger audience. So I try to look at it through that lens. With that being said, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going to spend too much time on the dunk contest. I don't know if there's fixing it. Like, I don't know if there's a fix for the dunk contest. Sure, having the stars playing there would make it a little bit more entertaining. Yeah, of course. Like, John Morant's dunking tonight. Oh, shit. Like, maybe you tune in, right? But the reality is those guys, and Anthony Edwards even talked about this, he's not like a fancy dunker. He's a powerful dunker. There's a difference. There's like Russell Westbrook, for example, powerful dunker. He's not doing like crazy windmills and 360 no scope dunks. Like, there's kind of levels on that front. And because of that, I don't really care too much about the dunk contest. I don't really know if there's fixing it. I will say, and Kevin O'Connor got some shit for this, but he's 100% right. I mean, just having NBA players that people know is pretty important. Like, I get it. Everyone who's in here knows who's in the dunk contest. Everyone knows who Stephon Castle is. Everyone knows who Andre Jackson is. There actually might be some of you in here who don't know who Andre Jackson is. But everyone knows who Andre Jackson is. Everyone knows who Matas Bazulis is. Like, we all know who those players are. Look, the reality is the casual fan does not. I mean, the casual fan probably knew zero people. Mac McClung was probably the most popular player in the dunk contest. He's not even in the NBA. Like, he's in the G League, right? So I do think that kind of impacts how people view the dunk contest, because it's like, if I'm kind of a very casual NBA fan, and this is around the time that I'm trying to lock into the NBA, I look at the dunk contest, I see Stephon Castle. Maybe I know him. Big college player, top 5 draft pick. Matas Bazulis, okay. Top 10 pick. Andre Jackson Jr., Mac McClung. Like, I'm not tuning in for that shit if I'm just being real, right? 3-point contest, I never cared about. Skills challenge, hilarious that Wemby and Chris Paul got disqualified. But with that being said, man, the Saturday night festivities or whatever, I don't know if there's a fix for me that would make me care about it that much more. Let's talk about the game itself. How can we fix the All-Star game? First and foremost, the NBA has to answer one singular question. That is this actually salvageable? Do we think we can fix this? Like, before we implement any huge changes, like any real fundamental changes that will add added importance and significance to this game, do we think people will actually care? Like, do we think the players will care? Because if we're going to make a big change, like something that's been suggested, home court advantage, if we're going to do something like that, we have to make sure that there's buy-in from the players, because that's going to be really shitty if we make a big change like that and it's a fucking dunk contest track meet, for 46 minutes. That's the number one question they got to answer is, do we think this can be fixed? My first thing I would do if I was the commissioner, I would move it. I would move it to the weekend before the NFL Super Bowl. So I'd move it back a couple of weeks. It's more in the middle of the season. It's kind of weird to come out the All-Star break and there's 25 games left. Like, you've already played 60 games. Is that not a little? That's always been a little strange to me. But I move it back in front of the Super Bowl, the week before the Super Bowl. Now, you might be wondering, well, dude, the NFL Pro Bowl is on there. Who gives a shit? Sorry. Who gives a shit? The NFL Pro Bowl. What do they have their dodgeball event? Do they even play football anymore in the Pro Bowl? Dude, the NFL dodgeball event's on that day. Who fucking cares? NBA, it's time to grow up a little bit. Grow a set. Lock in. Stop embarrassing yourself like this. Okay? Flag celebrity football. Yeah, dude, they got the flag celebrity game. Who fucking cares? All right? Move it in front of the Super Bowl. And what I would do is I would have the break be a little bit longer. I'd have it be about 12 days, up to 2 weeks. I'd do whatever you have to do. Start the season a week earlier to account for it, whatever you need to do. The longer break will help out players and teams, right? Nobody wants to see all these injuries, man. A longer break in the middle of the season will be helpful. And 2, it actually gives the All-Stars a break. I mean, I was listening to the old man in the 3. Cam Johnson was talking about how if you're at the game, if you're at the festivities, you don't get a break. Like, it's not like you're kind of resting and then you play the game and then you get some rest. Like, you're doing shit constantly, right? So I would, the week before the Super Bowl, you have your last games before the All-Star break on that Thursday night, whatever. Boom, you do your All-Star festivities Saturday. You still do the dunk contest, still do all of that shit. All-Star game on Sunday, I'll talk about ways you could fix that. And then I think I would take an entire week off, right? So you have the Sunday before the Super Bowl is the All-Star game. You take that entire week off. The Super Bowl happens that Sunday. Boom. Monday, Tuesday after the Super Bowl, you're back. You keep the trade deadline that Thursday before the Super Bowl. So the trade deadline happens in the middle of the break. I like that because teams aren't having to rest guys because they might be getting traded. Guys aren't getting traded right after games. It's like kind of this awkward thing. Coaches have talked about it, right? Steve Kerr's talked about how awkward it is. So you eliminate that process. And on top of that, we've seen over the past couple of years, the trade deadline's been moved to that Thursday before the Super Bowl. And it's kind of been this thing that people have worried about where it's like, oh man, trade deadline before the Super Bowl. But the trade deadline has dominated a lot of the conversation, even in the lead up to the Super Bowl, because people really like NBA trades, right? So you have the trade deadline in the middle of this break. And that way, whenever the Super Bowl's over, that's when the Super Bowl ending is almost like opening night part 2 for the NBA, because you get a bunch of people who are now have this hole in their sports life that they need to fill. A lot of people, and don't underestimate the amount of people in the United States of America who are like, I'll focus on basketball once the football season's over, right? So boom, All-Star game, trade deadline, you're generating buzz. Oh shit, Luka got traded, this guy got traded. Oh my God, what the fuck happened? Boom, Super Bowl ends. All right, we're back. Games are on TNT, games are on ESPN. We're locking back in. We get to see all these guys make their debuts for new teams. It's fun and it's exciting. So that's what I would do first and foremost. I would move it, and I'd make the break longer so guys could get healthier, so the players participating in the game itself actually get some time to rest. Now let's talk about the game itself. That was the worst one I've ever seen. I mean, that was so bad. And what's sad about it is it wasn't even the game, really. I thought the format was kind of good. Like, the format had some real potential, I thought. The players, I thought, tried decently. Like, you're never going to get a full buy-in level, especially now with the All-Star game. But, I thought that there was some interesting moments and stuff like that. I thought it was fun seeing, like, Wemby get really frustrated when the defense didn't try. Like, I like that. But my God, the presentation was so embarrassing. So embarrassing. Adam Silver, if for some reason you're listening to this, please, you got to step in, man. The MLB is revoking ESPN's rights to show their games because they said, and I quote, ESPN doesn't talk enough about baseball, so we're ripping it away from them. It's time to grow a fucking set, man. That was pathetic. So, yeah, it's just a big promotion event now. It's just nothing but advertisements and Kia. I don't know about you guys. I went straight to the Kia dealership that Monday morning. Way too many ads. Look, we don't need to stop the game. There's already so many stoppages. You've got, 4 different games? You can easily just plan a little ceremony in between one of the games. We don't need to stop one of the games to do a TNT segment. No, nobody wants that. Seriously, nobody wants that. The players didn't want it. The viewers didn't want it. What were they appealing to there? And it really doesn't make sense because inside the NBA is still a thing. They're going to still be a thing. Okay. The Kevin Hart decision was shocking. I mean, what were they thinking there? This is the big problem, and one of the big problems I've had with the NBA is it's unlike any other sport. The way that they just let their broadcasting partners, the way that they let the people talking about their games, the analysts, the commentators, whatever, just openly shit all over the sport. It's the most bizarre thing. It's we already know. If you follow the league, you already know the All-Star game has been a hot topic of conversation for quite some time. Look, I don't need to tune in. And the All-Star game is basically just like a 3 or 4 hour long podcast for these guys to shit all over the league and talk about how terrible it is, how terrible the All-Star game is. Kevin Hart's just shitting on every single player. His mic is going through the stadium so the players hear it. It doesn't make any sense in the world. The NFL would never do it, ever. The All-Star game was terrible. That was the worst one I've ever seen. It was the second least viewed one ever. It ain't working. And I'm going to tell you right now, okay? Beyond the product being terrible, because it is on the All-Star game, Silver, you got to put your fucking foot down here, man. Like, are you aware of this from a business side? People that are tied to your game constantly shitting on it is not good for business, man. It isn't good for business. Your product's too good right now. And people are being gaslit into thinking that it's horrible. It's so bad. And that's what's sad. That's what's sad, Braden, is the product on the court, like game-wise, really wasn't terrible. I thought the players tried pretty hard, all things considered. Like, I didn't think it was that bad. But the presentation was so terrible. Now, this format, there's some problems. I thought the idea of the Rising Stars was good. I supported it. I liked it because I thought those guys will try really hard. And if you've played sports at any level, if you play basketball at any level, if you play basketball, pick up basketball. You know, all it takes is 2-3 guys to really try their ass off, and everyone's trying their ass off. Like, that's really all it takes. So I like that idea that these young guys will get a chance and it'll just up the intensity. I really didn't think about the fact that who was the trio? It was Şengün, Cade, I don't remember the other guy. Got like a combined 30 seconds of playtime or some crazy shit like that. That's where this format kind of runs into a problem. And that's where it's like, wait, I just got to see. It's my first time. Like, Şengün's been my guy. He made the All-Star game. I'm so happy. How did Zach Edey play more? What the fuck? How does that make sense? Zach Edey got to play more at the All-Star game than. How does that make sense? So the format needs to be reworked, definitely. My solution and what I would really consider doing now, and I can't believe it because I thought this was so dumb. And whenever I first heard it, I've heard it's been brought up before, but Bill Simmons brought it up a week or two ago, and I thought it was so stupid when I heard it a week ago. But I've thought about it more and more, and now I do think there could be some juice. Is the All-Star game decides home court advantage in the NBA Finals. Baseball tried this. And look, this is where this is hard to talk about the All-Star game because the All-Star game it really is for a younger audience, right? USA International, I like the idea of quite a bit. The only problem is, how do you determine who's an all-star? And then inevitably, yeah, the international, like top 5, 6, 7 guys will be stacked, right? But you're going to get to a problem where if you're going to have like a 12, 13-man roster, there's going to be some guys at the bottom of it where it's like, that guy was an all-star? Really? So let me explain. I thought home court advantage was a terrible idea, but the more I've thought about it, I do think people would play hard. I think you would solve that issue immediately. People would care. And Bill Simmons talked about how it can only be the top 5 seeds. I don't even think that would have to be the case. I think everyone there would buy in. Again, all it takes is a few guys to really, really lock in. And you don't want to be that guy. Like, you really don't want to be that guy. Right? I think you would get a good amount of buy-in. Another thing, too, when you think about home court advantage in the finals, Game 7 at home. We haven't had a Game 7 since 2016, and the road team won that. When was the last Game 7 before that? 2008? Celtics Lakers? Road team won that. I'm not sure how much, like, this is kind of this open secret right now. I'm not sure how much home court advantage really matters. Oh, yeah, 2013. That's right. I'm not sure how much home court advantage really matters all that much. The home court thing would also solve the problem of one team having home court in the finals because their conference was shit and they had an inflated record. Yeah, that's true. So that's where I'm at, Jake. I have such great memories of the All-Star game, baseball All-Star game growing up. Now, I don't know. This is where it's difficult talking about this kind of stuff. I don't know how much of that is, the game was really fun and it had these stakes and it felt like a really big moment in the season. How much of it is that versus how much of it was, I was a teenager, I was a kid, I played baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport growing up. And it's just like this nostalgia thing for me. So I look back on it really fondly. That's where it's very difficult talking about these things because realistically, how long has the All-Star game been shitty? It's been a long time. It's been a long, long time. But baseball, I remember this though, how cool it was from a fan's perspective. I remember early, mid-2000s, Rangers were shit. They were terrible, right? They weren't good. They weren't really a playoff team ever. But man, it was cool as a fan seeing my guys make the All-Star game, a very big moment. It was cool to see my guys go up there in the biggest at-bats of their careers, all things considered, and have big moments like on a huge national stage in a game that meant a lot. Michael Young. I remember, what year was it? 2006. All-Star game in Detroit, I believe. Oh, Pittsburgh. Michael Young, 2006. Rangers were terrible. Hit a go-ahead triple in the 9th inning. Played for the Rangers. And it was like this, oh my fucking God. Like, oh, that was such a cool moment for me. Such a cool moment for me to see Michael Young do that on my team. No, I was not a teenager in 2006. I was not a teenager in 2006. Not even close. Michael Young did that, and it was for a fan of a team that wasn't very good. So cool to see my player do that. And Hank Blaylock, what year is it? He hit a home run in an All-Star game. 2003. Hank Blaylock, huh? How about 2003 blast from the fucking past? All-Star game MVP, Michael Young. That shit meant something to me. You got to understand. That shit meant something to me. Hank Blaylock, 2003, pinch hit home run off Eric Gagne. Put the Rangers, or put the American League up. It was so sick. So sick. 2003, I'm like 7 years old. My team stinks. But I got to see Hank Blaylock go up there with his Ranger jersey on, hit a bomb. It was cool. And I think that there would be something there for fans. At the end of the day, this is a fan thing. The whole league is an entertainment industry. Let's never forget that part of it. And the All-Star game is really a celebration of the game, and it's for the fans. So if you add some stakes to it, I mean, imagine being a Pistons fan. The Pistons are good this year, but let's be honest. Like, if you're playing for home court advantage in the finals, the Pistons aren't making the finals, right? Still having a great season. But imagine you get, like, Kate Cunningham gets to go out there, and if a game has that much stakes, probably he's not going to play too many minutes as opposed to some of the more, solidified guys. But Kate Cunningham goes out there, and he gets 8 points in 2 minutes in the third quarter to keep the East in it. And you're like, oh my God, like you're a Pistons fan, and it's just this insane moment. That's what I started thinking. I was like, there's some juice to that. Like, if you added some real stakes to this game and people bought in, it would be a lot of fun to watch your guy go out there and make big plays with like real stakes. And what should be the best, the most entertaining, glorified pickup game that there is. The last good All-Star moment was U.S. versus World, Luka versus Trey. I mean, the first or second year they did the Elam ending? I mean, that was great. I don't know. You really got to consider it. You can't not do the All-Star game. Like, they're not going to get rid of the All-Star game. Not only is there, they get good ratings even when the ratings are down. They get good ratings on this. But also, don't sleep on the fact that you go to the city where the All-Star game is at, and it's a full week-long fucking thing. Like they wouldn't cancel it for that as well. We need beef, hence why soft judges are jokes. I get the Saturday night festivities. I don't know. I don't know how you fix that. I really don't know if there is a great fix, to be honest with you. I think the dunk contest, realistically, what haven't we seen at this point? 3-point contest, never really been my thing. Whatever. It's entertaining, but that would be that. I think that there's some juice there. I think that there's some to the game actually having real stakes. And look, you really don't want to be that guy where it's like, hey, the West blew an 8-point lead because this player was fucking around the entire time on the court. And I want to say too, it's not a great look that LeBron is this like whatever about the All-Star game. I don't think it's a good look for the most popular player in your league to have that approach and then also pull out of it last second. Not good. It's just not. It's not good. It's not a good look. 24-player 1v1 tournament. 8 most senior All-Stars get by. Every All-Star gets an opportunity to play for their fans. I know there are guys who have said they'll do a one-on-one tournament. I can't imagine that there would be a lot of buy-in from players to do a one-on-one tournament. LeBron not playing and then playing a back-to-back is crazy. Yeah. You think the 1v1 would be 3 dribble unlimited? Definitely not unlimited. It'd probably be like a time limit if I had to guess. 3 dribble, I don't think for a viewing audience would be as appealing. So that's why I do think that there is something to having the game mean a little bit more. And it be home court advantage, and it be you just can't do this shit again. And if you want to keep the same format, I think there's something to it. Maybe you add more all-star spots so you don't have to put a Rising Stars team in there. Very intrigued by the idea. How would you feel about the added injury risk if guys are playing for real in the All-Star game while the chances aren't too high? I'd be sick as hell if Kai got hurt. Yeah, but that's just a risk you take all the time. We got to remember, too, these guys scrimmage. These guys play pickup runs like all the time. That's something we don't see. These guys are playing high. These guys are playing competitive basketball all the time. I don't know. They got to answer a couple questions. Do they think this can be fixed? And do they even care enough to fix it, really? That's what you got to ask yourself. The expectation is just like practice level effort. Yeah, I mean, it's just not fun. And this was so bad. I mean, Mr. Beast pops up. It's like, what the fuck am I watching? Honest to God. That's the type of stuff that it happens, and then you remember, okay, this is for children. We have to remember that. This is ultimately, at the end of the day, for kids, by and large. That doesn't mean I like